All right, 3, 2, 1, rolling. All right, folks, welcome back to the Fastest Fifth Mile podcast. We are here in episode number 2 at Poughkeepsie Speedway with the track promoters, Mary and Sam, and also the race director, Mr. Doug Brown. Everybody, welcome to the show. All right, Mary, we're going to start with you. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got to be the race promoter of Poughkeepsie Speedway?
I have 3 sons that race, Logan, Lucas, and Carter. I did not grow up with a racing background. I got into racing when I met Sam, and he told me, how he started his racing career at Poughkeepsie. Since we lived so close, I knew where it was and what it was. And about 4 years ago, Sam came home super excited to tell me that the Speedway was back open. And that's when we went and got go-karts for our boys, and we started racing here. We raced here for 3 full seasons with Mr. Doug and Dawn. And then at the end of last season, there was some stuff going on that, Miss Dawn had decided that she didn't want to promote the track anymore. They were kind of looking for somebody to take over, and I guess it just ended up being me. So it's not something that I, dreamt about doing. I didn't sit back and say, I'm going to run Poughkeepsie someday. It kind of just fell in my lap. I didn't want to see the track shut down because it has so much potential. There was already so many home-based racers here, so I wanted to see it continue on. That's how I became to be the promoter.
All right. And Sam, you used to actually race here at Poughkeepsie Speedway. I hear that you maybe were the champion here one year. So could you just talk a little bit about how you used to race here, and then how when you got the opportunity to maybe tell your wife that the track needed a new promoter, just kind of how you got here?
So in 2003, I started racing go-karts here at Poughkeepsie Speedway with my stepfather. And it was a family affair. And we took the championship home in 2003 and 2004 in the stock animal division with John Villano. And it was a very fun and interesting time of my life, where we got to come out on a Saturday and run the fastest fifth mile and spend a lot of time with friends and family. And when I met my wife in 2011, years later, I told her how much fun it would be to bring our kids here and experience that all over again, and which we ended up doing in 2018.
All right, race director, Mr. Doug. So can you just tell us a little bit about your history? And you've been doing this for a very long time. You were at Poughkeepsie Speedway for kind of a few of the promoters that have been here. So just kind of tell us where you've been, what you're doing, and how you got here.
Well, it started a long time ago, and I grew up around racing. I was involved with the Danbury Race Arena years and years and years ago. I started basically as a 10-year-old kid sweeping floors in racing shops. That has always been in my heart as far as being part of racing. I drove race cars at Stafford and Thompson in the late 80s and early 90s. But when my kids were born, I found a couple people that were involved in the go-kart end of it, and we wound up coming over here as a dirt track. And that's when John Diot had the place. So we came over, we played around with go-karts, wound up racing at Shelton. Stayed there for quite a while, then moved around to different tracks. But as my kids got older, I kind of backed away from it. I was running a business full-time, and the kids kind of went their way. My son was going into high school. My daughter was kind of doing other things. So I got away from it. About 10 years ago, well, actually it's longer than that, probably 11 or 12 years ago, just through a series of events, I was looking to close my business down and kind of settle down because I couldn't keep up with it anymore, and it was time for me to technically retire. And as that played out, I got hooked up with a place called On Track Karting. They were opening a new facility in Brookfield, and I went there and I said, hey, if you guys want somebody to work on go-karts, I could always do that as a part-time thing. One thing escalated to another. I started watching some of these younger kids racing, and I still had a couple go-karts, so I said, you know what? Let's take a couple of them and go to the Valley, see what the heck happens. We went up to Lebanon Valley. Lebanon Valley had just opened their go-kart track, so we played around a bit, and ultimately I hooked up with a family and a young driver that was just ridiculously talented. And turned that into a pretty much full-time operation. I was working at on-track karting as a go-kart mechanic, so I was completely invested in just playing with go-karts. So with Tate Broderick and her father, we went off and just started running all over the East Coast. We would go to the Valley, we'd go to Selwyn's Grove, Pennsylvania, we'd go to Hunterstown. It didn't matter where we went. We ended up coming over here and playing around because Scott Baird had the place. So we talked about coming over and practicing and whatnot. So he said, come on over. We took all the karts. She was also racing at Stafford at the time, so we were working on the asphalt setups. Once I was in here, I talked to Scott and I said, hey, you know, you should really do something with this. He wasn't interested in promoting it. So lo and behold, Dawn Timon called me and she said, hey, I got an opportunity to go over and take over Poughkeepsie. And my comment was very simple. If you want to get involved, I'll do anything you want. Leads us right to where we are today. Dawn opened it. Dawn got things going and made things happen. And as that played out, it got kind of, you know, it was very difficult because both of us live well over an hour away from here. And it's hard to maintain a project when you're that far away. So Mary and Sam had been playing in the pits and we became friends with them. And through the series of events, when Dawn said, I don't think I want to do this anymore, literally turned to Mary and said, guess who's going to take over Poughkeepsie? and there she is. So it was just a series of events that led to it. And the truth be told, I told Mary last year when Dawn and I left that I was pretty much done, that I wasn't going to do it anymore at all. And not that I was convinced to do it, but I became very, very excited about what Mary and Sam were putting on the table, what their goals were and what they really wanted to do here. And lo and behold, now I'm here, even on a Thursday night at 8 o'clock to help promote along with them. So that's the long and short of it.
Yeah. All right, so Mary, back to you. So since you've taken over, what's your experience been like? How's it been running a track that you didn't know you were going to run a few months before you started running it?
I can tell you this, and Miss Dawn and Mr. Kevin both told me the same thing. You know, it might look glorious to be able to run around and tell everybody you're a track promoter, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of behind the scenes. I think my biggest thing to overcome was learning how to deal with all the racers' different personalities. And one of the quotes, like key phrases I'll never forget because I live it every week, that Mr. Doug told me is you're never going to make every single person happy. You can't. You know, there's too many different outlooks on racing or what goes on that track or calls that are made, you know. So at the end of the day, I just try to make the best decisions that I think are the right decisions for the racers here. But yeah, it's you know, it's not just coming to open the gate on a Saturday morning, you know, signing people in and getting them on the racetrack. There's a lot of other things that go on, you know, during the week, such as promoting it. You know what I mean? I definitely, when I took over, wanted to focus on that aspect of the track and promoting it and like the social media aspect, new sponsors involved, you know, to really get the word out there about Poughkeepsie, whether it was to racers that already had karts that were running other tracks, or it was people that, you know, always thought about getting in a go-kart but never had. And I think that, you know, as a group between me, Sam, and Mr. Doug, you know, we have a lot of new families that have come to Poughkeepsie this year, which is super exciting. And we also have had a ton load of people that have always dreamt about go-karting, such as, let's say, Mr. Dave. It was his lifelong dream to get in a go-kart, you know what I mean? And we were able to make that happen for him. But just to see the amount of new racers, whether it's adults or kids, is very exciting for the sport of racing.
So a quick question for Sam. So 75% of the children in your household are karters, are regular karters, or I would even say racers. And so, and you are their pit ball. Like you are the guy that makes the karts go. You make sure the tire, and they do a lot of work too. But if we're all looking, it's usually you, and maybe they're on their phone just making sure you're doing it right. I'm just saying, if we're just gonna be honest, I don't, you know. But so like, what's that like? And that's a lot of work. You work full-time job, and then you pull up here at 6 o'clock with a trailer and drop off a lawnmower so that you guys can work some more. Like seriously, so like that's a lot, right? It's certainly a lifestyle choice. So like, but what's it like to be doing that stuff for these kids and kind of like giving them some of what you were able to have when you were a kid?
When it becomes work, it's not fun anymore. So I still keep the fun in it. They do make it easy for me because they help. They're always in the garage. They're always working together to make each other better as a driver, or, setting up each other's go-karts, working with Carter, the little guy, to make him a better racer, because it's taken him such a long time to get to a point where he's comfortable in the go-kart. But yeah, there's a lot of hours. If you want to do well and if you want to win, you have to put the time in the garage. And to do so, it does get costly, it's expensive, time consuming, and with a little help from your wife and all of her hard work at the track, it makes it a little easier.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so very quickly, just one last question for you guys. So we're about halfway through the season. Kind of what do you see for the rest of the season? What's your hope for the track for the rest of the season? And kind of maybe even jump into next year, maybe like what a dream would be for what Poughkeepsie Speedway could be in 2024. We'll start with Mr. Doug, the track director.
That's easy. What's being built here is a vision that Mary has put forward. And it falls right into my category because I'm old school. We have watched racing for the last 20 or 30 years evolve into a contact sport, in my opinion. You watch NASCAR, you watch go-kart racing, you go to any track, and it's who can move who out of the way. Not happening here. Not. We run a racetrack where racers come out and they have to race. There is no tolerance. And the neat thing is here, it doesn't matter who you are. I've been involved in clubs. I've been involved with all kinds of different situations at racetracks where the board of directors handles everything, and the board of directors has their race director and so on and so forth. The neat thing here is we're open and welcome to a family atmosphere, and the key is we don't have ties to anybody. When I'm race directing and or flagging an event, my eyes are focused on car numbers. I don't care who's in it. Mary's kid pulls a move. They may come over the scales and find out they were set back 3 spots. It doesn't matter to me. My own daughter has had the black flag thrown at her. It doesn't matter, because what we want to do is give everybody the same opportunity to race. And I've said it every time we have a driver's meeting. If you came here and you feel that you're just going to move people out of the way and go collect your $300 or your trophy or whatever it may be that day, it's not the case. Because here we promote racing clean and racing hard. And you can go back to any one of the videos you've put up. They're not edited. We race hard and clean here. So I'm going to give it to Mary.
So what do you see for the rest of the season and then kind of moving forward maybe in the next year?
Starting off with this Saturday, I'm super excited because me and Sam decided to bring back the night series, which Mr. Villano ran when Sam was here. And I think it's very neat because I think that Poughkeepsie is one of the only go-kart tracks in the Northeast that has lights for us to race at night, which I know is exciting to all of our racers. I also think it's pretty neat because it's going to be throughout the summer weekends, so it'll be a little bit cooler than having them out here in the sun. So that's going to be good. I'm excited for the night series. I think it's going to be a different element to bring to Poughkeepsie. And then after the night series, we go back into our regular point season. We have 4 more points races, and then we'll know who the champion is for each of those divisions. Then after the points is over, we kind of have a couple just race days in there, which are going to be money races. Those posts will be going up soon. Then we go into October and we'll have our Halloween race, which is always cool. That's another night race. And then our last event of the year is always Novemberfest. And that is a 3-day event, which is very neat because it does bring a lot of racers from different tracks. And they get to camp here.
It was started by John Diaz.
Yeah, okay, John Diaz started that, Mr. Doug said. I think most racers that race go-karts in the Northeast, they know about Novemberfest at Poughkeepsie, and they usually all come to that. So that's really, really neat to have a more diverse group of racers here for our home track people to get to race with other people. And then my vision moving forward into next season is just keep on the track that I'm on right now. We do have a lot of, visions for Poughkeepsie. I'm super excited. I just want to throw out there that we do you. We had a lot of sponsors come help us at the track this year. You can see all of their banners on the backstretch. All of their help is greatly appreciated. But I do want to just say that we do have somebody who really stepped up this year to help us out at Poughkeepsie, and that's Mr. Chris Dyson. Chris started his racing career here at Poughkeepsie a long time ago with his dad. He went on, to do bigger and better things than go-karts. Doing the Trans Am Series. He actually last week went and raced out in Ohio and he won. Him and his teammate on the Jim Weed team, they got first and second, so that was very cool. Chris is just such a generous, just a good guy. And Chris just wants to see Poughkeepsie stay alive for racers that race here already, but also for like the young kids that, are going to get into racing someday. So it's really neat to have Chris be a part of our team. And I can't wait for him to get out to the track. I know he's been super busy with his race schedule, but once that slows down, moving into, October and November, he's definitely going to be here and he wants to come, and cheer all the racers on. A really great thing that we have Chris as a part of our team. But moving forward into next season, we want to keep growing the track. When I took over, the car count, was maybe around, 22 to 25 carts a weekend. And we see right now like a steady 40 carts a weekend. It's slow growth, but it's growth, and that's all that I was looking for. I didn't expect to take over at Poughkeepsie and all of a sudden, it's 100 carts a weekend. Nobody can do that. So to have one new family a weekend come but I see them come back the next weekend and the next weekend. To me, that's success because that means they're coming to the track and they like what we're giving them. You know what I mean? They like the environment, they like the racing. Just to keep growing the track. And as far as a dream that you asked if we had for Poughkeepsie, I'm not going to make any promises because, there's a lot of stuff going on in the background right now. Me and Sam and even Mr. Doug, our vision and dream is to have a dirt track here again at Poughkeepsie. It used to be a dirt track when it first opened. And then for a little while, I'm not sure which promoter it was, but they did have a dirt track on the inside of the asphalt track. We've had many requests from a lot of racers to bring the dirt back. That's my dream, is to get a dirt track back at Poughkeepsie and not, to have both, to have asphalt and to have dirt. Whether it's racing dirt on Friday nights and then asphalt on Saturdays, it's definitely in the future for Poughkeepsie. I can't give you a date, but it definitely is in the future. So that's something that we're really looking forward to.
All right, I'm going to give Sam a softball here. So 50X Racing, this is your team. Let's say that this is the Constructors Championship, which means like each team gets points. What place is your team coming in this year?
Oh man, this is a tough question. So as a helper or track promoter alongside of Mary.
No, I'm asking you as the owner of a team. You don't worry, that's why I'm saying this is an easy question.
It is an easy question. So going into the night series, we are leading 3 classes at this time. Logan leading the senior champ division, Lucas leading the clone division, and Carter leading the blue plate animal. So we hope to carry that on through the end of the season. I think we can do something there. I would love to end our first season running the facility with 3 championships.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, folks, we want to thank Mr. Doug, Mary, and Sam. We just want to thank Poughkeepsie Speedway for doing the second podcast here, and we will see you soon. Thanks a lot. Oh, wait, one more last thing.
We want to thank you for all of your hard work, Sal, and thank Doug Brown for all of his hard work and dedication, and thank you, Mary, for all your hard work.
I was afraid of Doug for like 2-3 weeks, and then it was like, and then I was like, all right, he knows I'm all right.
Most people are, but then they realize I'm not so bad.
It's a very healthy, I really appreciate it, and I want everybody to have to go through it. So. Yeah.
No, it's true. We want to thank you so much because what the element that you've added to Poughkeepsie, capturing all of our racing and just the little things that you do, the little flyers you make for, the best driver of the week or whatever it is, the driver interviews, that means so much to these little kids, you know what I mean? That they get an interview from you. It makes them feel like a NASCAR star,
I'm giving them what I wish I had when I was a kid.
Yeah, but
that's really all I'm doing. So
it's awesome. So you are definitely part of this team, and we thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Thank you. All right. Bye. That's what you get for stuff like that. Are you kidding me?